Assalamu alaikum everyone, and today in this video we're going to discuss how to talk about movies. Maybe you watched a movie and you liked it or you didn't like it. So how to express your feelings about that movie in English? What phrases to use? What useful words could you use in that case, in the case of describing about the film that someone wants to know from you? So let's get started. Before we talk about movies, we should know what types of movies are there. So there are horror films, comedy, romance, thriller, rom-com, which is a short form of romance comedy. There are historical films, western films, drama, musical. Different types of films are there. Can you think of other types of films that I didn't mention? Yes, there are. There are action films, there are musical, then historical films, and sci-fi. The sci-fi films are set in the future and they usually feature advanced technologies, and for an example say Star Wars, or they involve time traveling or multiverse, etc. So their sci-fi is also a short form of science fiction, so you could guess like science fiction, there could be anything that that is your imagination about science and technology in the near future. And fantasy films are, they feature mythological things like you could say dragons or monsters. They feature those supernatural beings or events, and their plots are interesting. And this fantasy films, for an example, we could use Harry Potter for an example, and The Lord of the Rings. They're all fantasy films. Now, when someone asks you what type of movie is it, I guess you could answer like if it's a comedy film, then you could say it's a comedy, or it's a thriller, or it is a historical film, or it is an action film, or a horror film. People can ask you that what kind of movies do you like, or they can also replace this do you like by are you into, like what kind of movies are you into. That means this are you into also means do you like. So what kind of movies do you like, or what kind of movies are you into? Now you can definitely answer like I like horror films, or I like action movies. So you can now answer that, and depending on your favorite films, like what are they, what type of films are they? To get to know about a movie, suppose people ask you, or you ask people, what type of questions do you ask in the case of you want to know about a movie, and what type of questions could you ask? So the first question could be, who's the director? After knowing the name of the film, you could ask, who's the director, who's in it. It's a short way of asking which actors are in it, or who starred in that movie that you want to know about. And then you could ask, where is it set? So where is it set? And then is it based on a book? So you're just asking that, is it based on a book? So now I'm gonna answer these 4 questions depending on a movie that I like, which is A Beautiful Mind. And now when someone asks me what type of movie is it, I'm gonna say that it is a biographical drama film. And then who was the director? This film was directed by Ron Howard, or you could use this noun Ron Howard as an adjective in that sentence. You could say, instead of saying it was directed by Ron Howard, you could say it is a Ron Howard film. So you are using this noun Ron Howard name as an adjective in the second sentence. So it is a Ron Howard film. So it was directed by Ron Howard, or it is a Ron Howard film. And now for the question, who's in it, or which actors starred in that movie? You could say it stars Russell Crowe and Jennifer Connelly, or you could answer it by using the names first. Jennifer Connelly and Russell Crowe are in it. That means they are the actors. So it's you could say it stars, then the name of the actress, and then secondly you could say that the names first are in it. So by using these 2 ways you could express that who are in that film. Now the question, where is it set? So to answer this question, you could mention the place along with the time. For an example, you could say it was set in the Paris, or it was set in New York in the 1930s. So it was set in New York in the 1930s. Or if you were talking about an imaginary film, like, fantasy or sci-fi films, you could say that it's set in the near future, in an imaginary world ruled by corporations. So where is it set? You could answer this by describing the place and the time. Is it based on a book? So to answer this question, say that yes, if the movie is based on a book, then you say that it is based on a book by the author's name. Or you could say it is based on a book named, then the book's name. So you could use these two ways of saying that is it based on a book to answer that question. Now it's time to talk about a film that you liked, to describe about that film. If some of your friends asked you about that film, how could you say that you liked it? In that case, you could use some positive adjectives, like you could use good fun, moving, or touching, sweet, original. So these are positive adjectives. And these two, moving or touching, are similar, somewhat similar. You could use it because this means that if a film makes you feel strong emotions, that makes you think about it a bit, or change your views or something. So those are moving or touching films that really touched your heart or something. If a movie makes you think, or that makes you see things in a different way, or even after the movie ends, you were still thinking about it, or the plot interested you, or the story itself fascinated you or something. In that case, you could describe this film as a thought-provoking film. What film? A thought-provoking film. This adjective you could use in that case. If a movie has a realistic story, or good acting, then that could you could describe that film as believable. So the story or the acting was good, or the story itself was believable. You could say describe this as that movie was truly believable and realistic. In the case of comedy films, you could describe them as hilarious. So if you watched a comedy film and you liked it, and it was seriously seriously made you laugh, so in that case you could say it was hilarious. That means it was a good comedy film and you liked it. It was hilarious. Hilarious means something which is extremely funny. If that film got any reviews or awards, then mention it to your friend, because you were talking about a film that you liked. So you could mention about the reviews or the awards that it won. You could say that when it was released, it really got some good reviews. Or you could say that it won several awards. So you could also mention the award's name. You could say it won the Oscars. So now it's time to describe a film you didn't like. So when you don't like a film, what type of adjectives could you use? So I talked about some positive adjectives. You could also use their antonyms, like unbelievable. You could use unoriginal in the case of describing something which is not realistic and that makes you really bored watching that film. So you could also use the word boring, slow. You could use unoriginal. I talked about it. And you could also say awful. So all types of bad adjectives, like which describes that you didn't like it. There's also predictable. That means you could predict each and every plot. Even before it started, you could say that this is gonna happen, and that happens. So that makes the film very boring because that's predictable, and you want to watch something which is not predictable. And when a movie is slow, you describe it as slow. That means the plot or the actions in that film don't develop very quickly. The plot takes too long to change. So like that. So those kind of films or movies are slow movies. Now, for an example, you could say the lead actor was really bad. He was completely emotionless. you could talk about the plot of the film. You say that the plot of the film was awful, and the side effects and everything was so stupid, and it didn't make any sense. Now, I guess you can answer the questions about films. About when someone asks you or starts a conversation with movies, you could answer them like if you liked that film or not, what type of film was it, and explain why you didn't like or you liked it. And now there's a task for you guys. I want you to mention your favorite film and write that down in the comment section, that what did you like about that film, and you could mention a film you didn't like also, and just explain why. Make it a little bit longer. In a longer term, you could say like 2 or 3 lines describe about a film, or you could also recommend it to others at the end by saying it like you could really watch this movie. You could also use some recommendations, and just tell me about your favorite film in the comment section and write something about it. And that was all for today. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.